Everyone in the company had been shipping me and the CEO. To shut down the rumors, I posted on my moments late at night. Just got married, busy, don't at me. I never expected the CEO to immediately follow up with his own post. Just got married, wife's busy, don't at me. Rumors about me dating my boss had been quietly spreading for weeks. To protect my job and to keep the gossip away from Brian Kramer, who supposedly had a long-term first love, I tried to stop everything with a single harmless post. But I hadn't expected him to throw fuel on the fire himself. Within a minute of Brian's post, the company group chat exploded with 99+ messages. Our ship is real. Who else is screaming? Shy little bunny and cold, abstinent wolf CEO. Forbidden office romance, count me in. The endless barrage made my heart sink, especially because Brian was also in that group chat. Very few people knew the real reason he kept his distance from women. He had a childhood sweetheart he'd been waiting for. And how did I know? Because, embarrassingly, I'd had a crush on him since we were students. Of course I knew the truth. This rumor touched a nerve he would never tolerate. I could practically see my termination letter waving at me from a distance. Finally, someone tried to calm the chaos. It's late, everyone stop messaging. I nodded gratefully at my screen. But the next message knocked the air out of my lungs. Boss and Mrs. Boss are busy chatting tonight. Let's not disturb. #smirk. How thoughtful! A direct one-way ticket to unemployment. I rubbed my temples, frustrated. When a new notification popped up. Brian again. I opened it with dread, only to see something even more shocking. Brian Kramer. Good night, everyone. No penalties for being late tomorrow. Before I could process that, a private message arrived. Brian, bring your household registration and ID tomorrow. You'll need them. Of course. He probably wanted me to come in for official termination procedures. How considerate, letting me know what documents I need to quit. The next morning, I woke up early, put on a long white dress, and light makeup. If I was getting fired, I wanted to leave with dignity. As soon as I stepped outside, a bright red Maserati pulled up. The window slid down, revealing a jawline sharper than my life plans. It was Brian Kramer. He was wearing a crisp white shirt. The first time in 11 years I'd seen him in white. And he looked exactly the same as back then. Cold, distant, untouchable. He frowned slightly. Joanna, do you have everything? I nodded blankly and walked toward the car. When his dry, emotionless voice reminded me of reality, I pulled my hand away from the front passenger seat and slipped into the back. He was my boss, and today he was driving me to get fired. But as soon as I got in, Brian, usually silent, spoke first. Looks like you know where we're headed today. Of course, boss. I guessed last night I'd be fired. I just didn't expect full service termination with the boss himself coming to escort me. So, are you asking if I'm willing? As if I had a choice. If the boss comes himself, how could I refuse? Of course I'm willing. Whatever you say. Good. That tone was almost cheerful. And based on the 6 months I'd worked as his secretary, I knew one thing. Brian Kramer never sounded like that. I replayed the last 6 months in my head, how careful I'd been, how professional, how I never crossed any lines. And yet, firing me seemed to make him happy. He must really hate me. If people were spreading rumors about him being in love with someone he didn't even care about, of course he'd want to clarify. Especially someone as loyal and disciplined as Brian. Suddenly, he said, "We're here, the Civil Affairs Bureau." I blinked. We needed to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get fired? He looked at me. We're getting married. A few minutes later, I walked out holding a red marriage certificate with trembling hands. After 11 years of secretly loving Brian Kramer, I had married him. Why me? That was the only question running circles in my mind. Brian glanced at the red booklet in his hands. His expression didn't change. I needed a Mrs. Kramer to cancel my family's arranged marriage plans. Since everyone already thinks we're married, we might as well make it real. Saves trouble. He handed me a card. Don't worry, as Mrs. Kramer, I'll treat you well. All properties under my name will be transferred to you today. Use this card freely. If you need anything else, tell me. What was I expecting? A fairy tale? I'd known him for 11 years. He had known me for 6 months. Sorry, boss, I wasn't thinking clearly. I'm not interested in being your business partner. Let's divorce. His expression darkened instantly. The pressure around him dropped. There's a 2-month cooling off period. Joanna, think carefully about what I'm offering. Come back in 2 months. Brian hated complications. He never tolerated disruptions. His face fell and he turned to leave, then suddenly stopped. Wait here, I'll get the car. I took a deep breath and snapped back into work mode. Boss, the board meeting is at 2, site visit at 4, and at... Cancel everything. He cut in, tugging at his tie. You're coming with me to an event. Call me Brian. Or hubby. Pick one. Yes, boss. He never canceled meetings. That meant we were seeing someone important, and I already had a guess. When we arrived, my guess was confirmed. Diana Bogart, his childhood sweetheart, was back. The moment I saw her, I instinctively looked at my dress, a discounted piece from a random shop. It was the best I owned. She, meanwhile, wore the latest limited edition designer dress from abroad. Wherever she stood, all eyes followed. I glanced at Brian. As expected, he was looking at her. Excuse me, boss, I'm not feeling well. I think I'll go. Before I could step away, a warm hand wrapped around my waist. Stay with me a while. I'll take you home soon. His voice was low and steady, calming my frantic heart. We walked toward Diana. She tucked her hair behind her ear and smiled, elegant, poised. Her eyes never left Brian. Brian, long time no see. He didn't take her hand. He just gave a soft, and looked at me. Having been to countless events with him, I knew the etiquette, and I knew what he meant. He wanted to use me to make Diana jealous. I smiled politely and took Diana's still extended hand. Miss Bogart, I'm sorry. My husband is under strict wife management. Please accept my apology on his behalf. Then I picked up the wine glass beside me and downed it in one go. Diana laughed softly. Miss Bigelow, you and I are quite alike, even our names. Miss Bogart, it's an honor to be compared to you. One casual sentence, and the confidence I'd tried so hard to build crumbled. Diana and Joanna. She meant it clearly. Brian had chosen a replacement that even shared a similar name. But there could only be one Mrs. Kramer, and I knew I was no match for her. After a long silence, Brian finally said, My wife is not feeling well. Miss Bogart, please excuse us from your welcome dinner. A flicker of warmth filled my chest. Was he defending me? But the thought faded. He probably just didn't want Diana misunderstanding. I thought she'd try to stop us. She didn't. She just watched us leave with calm confidence. And why wouldn't she? She and Brian were childhood sweethearts. Their families were close. They'd even been promised to each other since birth. If she hadn't left to study abroad, she would already be Mrs. Kramer. And me? A girl with no family, no background? What right did I have to stand beside him? If I didn't resemble her or share a similar name, I probably wouldn't have passed the first round of interviews. Mrs. Kramer, what are you thinking? Boss, we can still make the afternoon appointments. Should I reschedule? This show was over. Reality returned. I tried to reschedule, but Brian cut me off, clearly annoyed, and drove off alone. I stood there, stunned. Humiliation burned in my throat, but I swallowed it down. I slipped off my heels and headed toward the nearest bus stop. As the saying goes, when your luck is down, everything goes wrong. After a few steps, the sky opened, and rain poured down. I tilted my head up. Perfect timing, I whispered. Now no one will notice I'm crying. A car horn startled me. I stepped aside and turned to apologize, only to fall into a warm embrace. I didn't need to look up. The faint scent told me it was Brian. I'm sorry, boss. I dirtied your shirt, I said, trying to steady my trembling voice. Without saying a word, Brian lifted me into his arms, steady, secure. Mrs. Kramer, let's go home, he said softly, so soft it felt like a secret meant only for the two of us. For a fleeting moment, I truly felt like the only Mrs. Kramer in his world. At the entrance of my building, I said, "Boss, you can drop me off here." "Hmm?" He nodded but didn't actually stop. Instead, he drove straight into the underground parking lot. "Boss, really, it's fine. I can go up myself."
Another non-committal, But again, he ignored me and followed me step by step. What was happening today? Why did Brian seem like a completely different person? Was he planning to come upstairs? No way. This was the same man who'd spent over a decade chasing Diana Bogart. "Boss, I'm here. Good night." I pointed at my door. Brian stared at it silently. In that pause, I ran through 100 excuses in my mind to stop him from coming inside. Then he finally spoke. "Not going to invite your husband in for a bit?" Without thinking, I blurted the most convenient excuse my brain could produce. "I got soaked in the rain and feel a little dizzy. Not convenient." The moment the words left my mouth, regret flooded me. Brian raised an eyebrow, confused at first. Then something clicked in his expression. He began walking toward me, slow and deliberate. I backed up instinctively until my shoulders hit the wall. "Mrs. Kramer, would you care to tell me what you're thinking?" "Nothing." "Really?" "We're legally married now, if you want." His gaze drifted from my eyes to my lips and then slowly downward. Absolutely not. Panicking, I used my fingerprint to unlock the door and slipped inside like a fugitive. Today's Brian felt nothing like the Brian I knew. Did something happen with Diana? I glanced at the red marriage certificate on the table and still couldn't believe it. Married to the man I'd fallen for at first sight. It felt like yesterday, back on the first day of high school. There was a tradition where upperclassmen guided the new students. I had been rebellious and impatient that day. After roll call, I sneaked away to explore on my own and ended up near a teaching building. Beautiful piano music drifted out the windows, soft and alluring. I followed the sound to a classroom. Inside, a boy in a white shirt played the piano with his back to the door. I was so mesmerized I didn't notice the threshold and thud, fell right in. The jarring noise cut the music short. Flustered, I jumped up and bowed an apology. "Are you okay, freshman?" A clear, gentle voice carried across the room. I looked up. Sunlight framed him like a halo. My heart stuttered. Love at first sight, born instantly. "Hi, freshman. I'm Brian Kramer, from Class 1, Grade 11. Brian Kramer. What a perfect name. It sounded like it belonged to the hero of a novel. My face reddened, and I ran away before he noticed. Outside, I bumped into a tall girl with a confident aura and sleek ponytail. Later, I learned her name was Diana Bogart, Brian's rumored girlfriend. Both came from elite families. I, on the other hand, was the daughter of a nouveau riche businessman. My life fell apart not long after. My mother passed away the summer after my exams, and my father cared only about business. To get his attention, I went from the well-behaved girl everyone praised to a full-on troublemaker. In my second year, my father went bankrupt and died from depression. Overnight, I became a true orphan. The money he left barely carried me through graduation. I ended up in a welfare home and transferred to a rough public school. Looking back, I was grateful I never embarrassed myself too much in front of Brian. We were never destined for the same world. But love at first sight, just forget. I worked hard, hoping I'd someday be worthy enough to stand beside him. After grad school, I sent my resume to his company. Somehow I got hired and became his secretary. 6 months of working under him, and I'd never made any serious mistakes. I believed I earned the job on merit, not because I resembled Diana. Even though our relationship was technically different now, the way we interacted hadn't changed. That moment at the Civil Affairs Bureau still felt surreal. "Boss, the partner company is sending their new director today. Do you want to attend in person?" No. He didn't hesitate. Normally, I wouldn't bring up such a routine meeting, but today's guest was Diana. His pen paused mid-air, then continued as if nothing had happened. I know. Canceled tonight's gala. I already have an appointment with Director Bogart. Yes, sir. I almost laughed at myself. Obviously, he knew she was coming. And I thought I was being smart. How embarrassing. Tonight's gala was with President Henry. His lanyard group was also bidding on the project. Before I could explain further, Brian slammed his pen on the desk. Whatever. If you want to go, then go. Got it. I'll leave you to it. He was clearly upset. Was it because I'd interfered with his date? Since Diana's return, Brian, the infamous workaholic, had broken his own rules. Maybe he only married me because he didn't know she was coming back. Now that she was here, he probably regretted rushing into marriage. Luckily, it was only 2 months. Once the cooling-off period ended, I'd return the title of Mrs. Kramer to its rightful owner. That evening, Brian left work early. Many coworkers saw him leave with Diana. Naturally, they came running to me with photos. "Joanna, aren't you married to the boss?" I smiled weakly. Yes, technically I was, but not in the way they imagined. And soon, I wouldn't be at all. Do you know who the real Mrs. Kramer is? I assumed they meant Director Bogart. They shifted to discussing her immediately. Quietly, I excused myself, claiming I had an errand. No one noticed. They were too deep in gossip. I slipped away. As for the gala, I hadn't planned to go, but President Henry had threatened to cancel our cooperation if I stood him up again. As Brian's secretary, all you have to do is show up, drink a little, and it counts as Brian attending. Might even secure the contract. After weighing my options, I agreed. A few drinks for $1 million contract. They'd give me a commission. I desperately needed the money. Outside the private room, I took a deep breath, put on my best professional smile, and walked in. "Joanna, being late means a penalty drink," President Henry smirked. "1 drink isn't enough to show sincerity. How about 3? The waiter filled the glasses to the brim. 3 glasses burned down my throat. That was sincerity. I handed him the contract. "Take your time." He signaled for another drink. I knew his type well. Whoever drank best won the deal. "I'll drink. You take your time." And you know how they say a person's tolerance reflects their character. Let's see yours. Then we'll talk about signing. Fair enough. I downed another. 3 rounds later, my stomach churned. I excused myself and rushed to the bathroom to throw up. Luckily, I'd taken anti-hangover pills, so I wasn't too dizzy. "Babe, are you okay? I saw your message and rushed over." It was Stacey, my college friend. 2 outsiders sticking together. We'd become close. She happened to be dining here tonight, too. "I'm fine, Stacey. I can drink 300 more rounds with them." After throwing up, I felt better and headed back. President Henry was already tipsy. A few more drinks and he'd be putty. I handed him the contract again. "Shall we sign?" "Sure, but there's still 1 bottle left." "Fine. Waste not." I grabbed the bottle and drank straight from it. 1 more step and the commission was mine. Bang! The door flew open. Everyone turned, but not me. I was still chugging the bottle, terrified of stopping. A second later, someone snatched it away. "Joanna, that's enough." Strong arms pulled me into a warm embrace. A familiar, gentle voice trembled above me. "Don't be scared, Joanna. It's me, Charles." Charles Cowie, one of my only 2 real friends. We'd met after I transferred schools and later went to the same university. His voice instantly calmed my heart. Still, I was married now, and appearances mattered. I gently pushed him away and steadied myself with the table. He kept his hand on my arm, ready to help. "The contract, it's not signed yet." "Don't worry, I'll handle it." His tone was warm, almost indulgent. "President, Cowie, I didn't know Ms. Bigelow was with you. Sign it, Charles ordered, calm, commanding. Yes, sir. President Henry scrambled to sign and handed me the contract. I had never seen a client so obedient. It felt surreal. President Cowie and your wife, please take care on your way out. No, I'm not his wife. I tried to explain, but Charles, who had been stiff and serious seconds ago, suddenly grinned, wrapped an arm around me, and whisked me away before I could say another word. I always knew Charles came from money, but I didn't realize he came from that kind of money. The kind that could make a greasy middle-aged CEO bow and tremble like he was meeting royalty. Still dizzy, I clutched the signed contract and grinned at him, smiling. I gave him a playful smack on the back. President Cowie, if I'd known you were that rich, I would have applied to be your secretary instead. He flinched dramatically. Ow! But he only laughed. Actually, I have a position perfect for you. Flexible hours, high pay.
Fine. Point taken. Inside the apartment, he walked in first, surveying the place like he owned it. I'm tired. Let's argue tomorrow. Which one is the bedroom? I pointed instinctively and immediately regretted it when he walked straight in. I stormed in after him. He turned to look at me with a soft, deep gaze, the kind he used to reserve for Diana. Jealousy and old wounds surged. I grabbed his tie, rose onto my toes, and kissed him. Brian froze for a heartbeat. Then everything about him changed. His pupils darkened, his breath grew heavy, and he kissed me back with a reckless hunger that drowned all rational thought. Clothes disappeared, logic vanished, the world shrank to heat and hands and breath. When only one last thread of sanity remained, I grabbed it. Will you take responsibility for this? I whispered. He said, without hesitation, I will. And that was it. The dam broke. We wrecked the room. When I woke up at noon, the space beside me was cold. He'd already left. I didn't remember much of what we said, only what we did. How he carried me to the shower, helped me change, how gentle he was afterward. My face burned. I covered it with both hands, only to feel something cold on my finger. A ring. Simple, solid, glowing faintly in the sunlight. I smiled so hard my cheeks hurt, until a thought hit me like ice water. Was this ring originally meant for someone else? Ding! A message. Brian, I'm outside. Open the door. I scrambled to get dressed, tripped, crawled, gathered my clothes, shoved everything into the bathroom, and rushed to let him in. He stood there, cold and composed, as if last night hadn't happened. Boss, what are you doing here? His eyes flickered. You're angry. I wouldn't dare, sorry. We spoke over each other. I stared. Sorry for what? I asked. Brian swallowed. Last night was your first time. I didn't get your consent. It was my first time, too. I didn't handle it well. I heard you stop. My face turned scarlet. What kind of billionaire says words like that with a straight face? Then I noticed the 2 giant suitcases. Boss, why are the luggage? Are you moving in? Yes, starting today, I'm living with you. More things will arrive later. What? Boss, my tiny apartment can't hold someone like you. Please go find a palace. He walked right in, dragging suitcases like a man on a mission. Brian, if you're moving in, don't you owe me a reason? I demanded. He glanced back at me. Call me boss outside working hours again, and I'll deduct $1,000 from your year-end bonus each time. I choked. Fine, but hubby. He nodded. Soup's on the stove. I'll serve you some. As he walked into my kitchen, only one thought rang in my head. He's hiding something. Brian, why are you moving in here? The soup's nourishing. Liar. I lifted my left hand. When did you buy this ring? He stared at it for a long moment. A tiny smile softened his face. A long time ago.
So, before he even married me and before he even knew me. Fantastic. Boss, sorry. Hubby, has today's schedule changed? Need me to rearrange anything? No work talk. I took leave for you. Everything this afternoon is canceled. What? You can't just... I can, and I did. I rubbed my forehead. Rich people were unbelievable. So, what are we doing today? Meeting my elders. I nearly said okay, but caught myself. Divorce in 57 days. No need to play house. The car ride was silent, heavy. Brian looked tense, grinding his teeth. Then he said the words like a slip he couldn't take back. I'll only ever be a widower, never divorced. My breath caught. He stiffened, realizing what he had said. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. I panicked he'd spiral. It's fine, let's just go. I dug through my closet and picked the only formal thing I owned, the white dress from our marriage certificate photo. In the car, I Googled tips for meeting in-laws of ultra-rich families. I even posted anonymously, how to act when meeting my husband's elite family. Top comment, just be from the same kind of family. That's all. Ouch. The more I scrolled, the heavier my chest felt. I shut off the phone and closed my eyes. After a while, someone called softly, Anna. I jolted awake. Brian sat beside me, unbuckling my seatbelt gently. We were in front of a hospital. My only elder is my grandfather. He's sick. He's here. I blinked. So, no one else? No other family? No one else. Something in my chest tightened. Let's go see him, I whispered. Inside, I was trembling. I had forgotten what it felt like to deal with family. What if I messed up? Don't be nervous. Grandpa's kind, Brian said softly. Inside the room, an elderly man lay in bed. Silver hair, weak frame. Grandpa, Brian said softly, smiling in a way I'd never seen. Look who I brought. The old man's face lit up. Joanna, come here, darling. My heart skipped. Was he thinking of Diana? But I smiled. Yes, Grandpa. Brian left to take a call. I helped Grandpa sit up. He squeezed my hand. Good girl. Thank you for choosing Brian. Grandpa, don't say that. Your grandson is incredible. Plenty of women admire him. He held my hand tighter. Serious now. I know my grandson. He bottles up everything. Few people can handle him. But you can. Since his mother died, he's carried deep resentment towards women. He went wild in middle school, fights, trouble. I bailed him out of the police station more times than I can remember. But in his 3rd year, he changed because of you. My breath hitched. Just yesterday, his therapist told me he's showing more emotions recently. That's good. But you must stay by his side. Otherwise, I'm afraid he'll do something foolish. I swallowed. Is he really your only family? Grandpa nodded gently. More or less. After his mother passed, he cut ties with everyone else. Then he began sharing stories from Brian's childhood, parts of his life I had never known. In the 11 years I had loved him silently, I realized I had only ever seen the flawless exterior, never the scars underneath. The more Grandpa spoke, the more a feeling crept into my chest. Maybe Brian was never meant to be mine. Maybe I should step aside and give him back to Diana. I wasn't Joanna. I could never replace her. Halfway through our conversation, Brian walked in. He must have overheard the embarrassing stories because his ears were red as he muttered something about getting food. Grandpa and I exchanged knowing smiles. Brian could summon a 5-star meal with one call. This was clearly an escape. While he was gone, Grandpa told me more, stories from Brian's birth all the way to college. He had been talented beyond belief, winning award after award, and yet still carrying one name in his heart. Joanna. Brian returned just as Grandpa finished. Let's eat, he said, And as expected, the meal he arranged was extravagant. Grandpa teased him without mercy, and at one point even pulled me aside. "Take good care of him," he whispered. The atmosphere was warm, lighter than it had been in years. Grandpa's eyes crinkled with genuine joy. It's been so long since I felt this happy. I bit my tongue, wanting to say, "Me too," but afraid of worrying him. Saying goodbye at the end was surprisingly painful. Tears glimmered in Grandpa's eyes, and, to my own shock, I couldn't hold back either. His affection felt like something I had been starved of for too long. "Grandpa, I'll visit again soon," I promised. "Good girl, Joanna. Do come see me." At the door, I finally gathered the courage to say what I had been hiding. "Grandpa, I'm Joanna." He smiled tenderly. "Of course you are, child. I've known all along." I never got the chance to visit again. A few days later, the hospital called. Grandpa was critical. As if in warning, a violent storm rolled across the sky that afternoon. During the meeting, Brian kept glancing at the window, his fingers restless. His unease seeped into me too. Before the meeting even ended, he suddenly bolted. I instinctively ran after him. In the parking lot, he stood frozen beside the car, eyes hollow, face pale, like the world had collapsed. The rain poured. He couldn't drive like this. "I'll take the wheel," I whispered. He didn't speak, just nodded faintly. We arrived too late. Grandpa lay beneath a white sheet. My vision blurred with tears, but I stayed silent. Grief doesn't need noise. He needed space, not someone crying beside him. While Brian mourned, I quietly handled the paperwork. By the time everything was done, night had fallen. Brian hadn't spoken a single word. No tears, just a chilling, suffocating silence. I didn't take him home. Instead, I drove us to the funeral home where Grandpa had been taken. We sat in the car, unmoving. "Brian," I said softly, "I'll stay with you tonight. Let's keep Grandpa company." He didn't respond. I continued gently. "I know what you're feeling. I lost my last family member when I was in second year of high school. That loneliness, it crushes your chest. You want to cry, but you hold it in because there's no one to lean on. So I won't ask you not to be sad, but if you want, you can share the pain with me." At last he moved. His gaze met mine, trembling, wet. After a long, heavy silence, he whispered, "You'll never be alone again." Just one sentence, and the walls around my heart crumbled. Whether it was pity or love, I didn't care. I fell deeper. I stayed that night. Only that night. Tomorrow, I told myself, I would walk away. Diana returned the next morning. I slipped out quietly to give them space, but she caught up to me before I reached the door. "Wait, don't go. You misunderstood something." Her voice was urgent. "Brian really loves you. He has loved you for 13 years. After you left in high school, he spiraled for an entire year. If you disappear again, he'll break." Her words hit me like a freight train. Shock and joy tangled together. 13 years? But we'd only known each other for 11. "Come on," she said, pointing to a bench. "Let's talk." "Please explain," I said. "You two are the most mismatched soulmates I've ever met. Brian and I grew up together. Our families even planned a marriage. But he never liked me. His heart was always yours. When it started, go ask him. Without you, he might have ended up in jail." I blinked. "But weren't you two dating in high school?" She rolled her eyes. "Rumors. I was just the shield he used to block girls who chased him." Then she smirked. "Though I did like him once. I had everything. Looks, money, brains. Yet, he chose you. You, an insecure little nobody. It annoyed me, but I also envied you." I absorbed every word in stunned silence. Then she added lightly, "Oh, and Brian moving in with you? My idea. If you want to thank me, make your future kid call me godmother." I laughed. "You just ruined your cool, elegant image in my mind." "Screw elegance," she snorted. Then she paused, softened, and said, "Joanna, you're more amazing than you think." When she left, I sat alone, replaying everything. 11 years of unrequited love, and yet I had never been alone. He had loved me first, loved me longer. I looked up and saw him standing not far away. His fists were clenched, his eyes dark and frightened. "Are you leaving me too?" he asked quietly. My chest tightened. "Brian, will you hold me?" One simple request, and all the storms in him calmed. I leaned close and whispered, "Brian, from today on, you'll never be alone again." After that day, everything changed. Brian became even more clingy, even more protective. We truly learned to communicate. When he was upset, I asked. When I was upset, he asked. When our relationship finally became public at the company, everyone cheered. Brian, dramatic as always, sent 200,000 yuan in red packets to the company group chat. "Where's mine?" I joked. He pointed at himself with that soft smile. "Right here." Fair enough. With him around, I didn't need anything else. Our wedding day came. Neither of us had family, yet the hall was anything but quiet. Our coworkers caused chaos on the stage. Diana and Charles wrestled for the bridal bouquet like wild animals. "You're getting married anyway," I yelled. "We're not," they shouted in sync. Brian calmly added, "You will." I laughed. Who knew the once aloof, godlike CEO could be this grounded, this teasing, this adorable? Later, while cleaning Brian's study, I discovered a small box. Inside was a single button and a folded note. "Of the 3,000 dazzling things in this world, I love only 3. Joanna, Joanna, Joanna." Dated March 3rd, 2010. 13 years ago, the day he first fell for me. The button slipped from my hand. "Brian, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have touched your things." He picked up the button, smiling softly. "Anyone else might think this is jewelry, but I belong to you now. What's mine is yours." Then he asked, "Do you remember that alley from middle school where you fed stray animals and a homeless boy?" A memory flashed. 7th grade. A shadow in the corner. A boy too thin, too scared. I had offered him food. He never spoke until the night my bodyguard saved him from bullies. "Can you tell me your name?" he had asked. "Joanna," I said. "Brian," he whispered back. And then he was gone. My breath hitched. You were that boy?" He nodded. "This button is from my school uniform." "Joanna, thank you." Tears blurred my vision. Thank that younger version of me for choosing that alley and finding you. Who would have thought it? That the lonely boy hiding in that dark alley would become the man I married. That my 11 years of one-sided love had been returned long before I even knew it. Now when he holds my hand, when he whispers my name like a promise, I no longer feel like the invisible girl chasing the sun. I am his son, and he was never far. We missed each other once, but this time, we found our way home.